Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Bev, and today I got some fun mail. I think that I have said probably a couple of times on this channel already that I'm not a big fantasy person. It's not a genre that I'm well versed in. In about August, I listened to the audiobook for A Darker Shade of Magic. That was the first fantasy that I had really given a shot since probably childhood. I really enjoyed it. I thought that the characters were a little bit predictable. The plot was a little bit predictable in some parts, but the world building was exquisite and the magic system was so fun. I was sucked in. I thought it was great. The ending left me with a little bit of a cliffhanger, so then I realized it was actually a trilogy. So I bought the box set. I wanted to have it. I liked it so much, I figured let's invest. Let's just get physical copies of these. So I don't have a ton going on this weekend, and I thought that would be a really good opportunity for me to read the whole trilogy, start over from the beginning, and take you along with me. Yeah, I'm excited to see what my reread of the first book brings. If I notice anything different, if I feel differently about the characters now that I have already gone through it once. So like I said, not a lot going on this weekend. Tonight, my husband and I are going to get salads from a pizza place for dinner. I know that sounds really sad that we would be getting salads from a pizza joint, but I think about these salads all the time. It's so good. It's really unhealthy, so don't even worry about that. Yeah, we're gonna do salads and garlic knots for dinner, like true health nuts. Then tomorrow, we have an appointment to do a wine tasting. We saw a friend on Instagram posted views from this winery a couple of weeks ago, and it is gorgeous. I'm really excited to spend a little bit of time there. Hopefully it's clear and we can get some pretty views, but if not, it is what it is. We'll have a great wine tasting. That's my whole weekend. That and these bad boys. So I'm gonna get cracking. I'm going to open up A Darker Shade of Magic, get into it, and I'll check in with you guys in a little bit and let you know how my first reread is going. Almost 9:30. I got my pizza joint salad and so many garlic knots. It was so good. But it's 9:30 and I'm only like halfway through. I'm not really crushing it the way that I thought I would, but it's been an enjoyable reread thus far. Maybe what I could do is, describe what the book is about for those of you that don't know, that haven't been introduced to A Darker Shade of Magic yet, and then tell you what I'm annotating. So A Darker Shade of Magic is a story that follows a young man named Kel, who is a magician that is able to travel between 4 different parallel dimensions. This is set in 1820s, 18-teens London. The 4 parallel dimensions are Grey London, Red London, White London, and Black London. Red London is where Kel is from, and magic is plentiful. People are thriving. On the other side, we've got White London, where magic is also plentiful, but has been corrupted. It's not as safe a place as Red London, and it's not a happy place either. You go there, and it's just kind of dull and creepy, and there's a lot of power struggles when it comes to the ruling of this particular land. Then you have Grey London, which is the world that we live in, where there's really no magic at all. Yeah, it's just, 1819 London, as it was. So Kel, being one of the rare types of magicians that can actually travel between these worlds, is an ambassador. He carries messages between the royalty of each of these dimensions and happens to also be a smuggler. He eventually crosses paths with a young woman named Delilah Bard. She is from Grey London, so she's human, no magical ability. Adventure ensues. That's about all there is to say without getting into kind of spoiler territory. If you're looking to avoid spoilers, then I will put a timestamp that you can jump to right in here. Okay, so getting into my annotations so far, I've got a little set of 5 different tab colors The orange is where I'm marking down references to magic and power and money, just kind of how money corrupts, power corrupts, just trying to pick out what V.E. Schwab is really trying to say when it comes to corrupted power. Yellow is where I am marking down passages about Holland. Holland is the other magician that is like Kel. There's really only 2 of them in all of the 4 dimensions. I find him to be so interesting. On my first read of this book, I feel like he was such a side character, and I wanted to pay closer attention now that I have this print version rather than the audiobook. I can take it a little bit more carefully, maybe read between the lines a bit. Yeah, there's not that many passages. I haven't marked too many yellow tabs yet, so I guess we'll just kind of see where things go with Holland. The green tabs are where I'm marking hints to Lila being able to use magic. I know that later in the book, it's revealed that Lila has a glass eye, and then just sort of brush it away, like, well, she has a glass eye, weird. Obviously that means something, and both Kel and Holland, as kind of the 2 Antari, they each have one completely black eye, so no white all the way black around, like, what is the band? Slipknot? Limp Bizkit? I can't remember. You know the guy. But just one of their eyes is like that. So Lila has a glass eye. Did she have a black eye? Is she Antari? What is that about? So I think I can bust this out tonight. I mean, it's pretty ambitious. It's getting late. I'm only halfway through, but I don't have anywhere to be in the morning. I don't have to be anywhere until like 11 o'clock. So honestly, I think I can stay up, cram through the rest of this book, and give you guys my thoughts in the morning. So I'll check in the morning, see how far I actually got. Wish me luck. Talk to you then. Hello everyone, good morning, and I did it. I finished the book, annotations and all. I'm just out in the backyard taking in a bit of fall air with Eddie. If you hear him clacking around, that's what's going on. I have to say, I don't consider this one a must-read just yet. I have a feeling that after I get a little bit further into the series, my opinion might change, but so far I have to say it's kind of a basic little fantasy story. That said, I do have some follow-ups on some of the annotations that I was making last night and a couple new thoughts, so I'm gonna get into a bit of spoiler territory. If you want to skip that, then just go ahead and go to this timestamp right here. I was keeping track of Holland in the book with my yellow tabs, and yeah, you know, I feel like I see online people talk about how much they love Holland as a character. Girl, he had no character in this book. Like, he was not really there. Here's pretty much the gist of Holland. He's a tragic figure because he's an incredible, powerful Antari, but he's bound to service by the evil monarchs in White London. 2, he's extremely ruthless and mean. He'll just kill people for kind of no reason. He'll taunt others while he's torturing them. I mean, he sucks. I think the tragic figure aspect was really played up for Holland, and I hope that it does pay off. At the very end of the book, Holland does die, but I'm sure he doesn't actually die because of the way that they wrap it up. That's another thing that I can't believe, is that at the very end of things, the very climax, the whole book has been leading toward Kel having to travel all the way to walled off, evil Black London so that he can get rid of this powerful stone. You know, he's gonna go throw the One Ring into Mordor. He doesn't do it. He just sees that, like, Holland is barely clinging to life, gives Holland the stone, and just sends him into Black London. So I feel like that is obviously foreshadowing. Holland's definitely not gonna die. He's definitely gonna have some experiences in Black London, and we're gonna see him again. It's gonna be rough, I think, since Holland is so evil and horrible. Then again, the evil monarchs that he was bound to are now dead, so that could play out differently. Yeah, I guess I'm interested to see what they do with Holland because I don't feel like his character was that complex or cool. The last bit that I really want to say is about Lila. I definitely forgot that they outright say that Lila has magical abilities. My bad. I missed that the first time. So we'll see. I'm sure she'll kind of hone her abilities between now and the next book, and we'll see kind of that spring to life. It did become really clear to me, though, that Lila is the hero of this story. When you think about the traditional kind of hero's journey, that's Lila's whole saga in this book, or at least the beginnings of it. I guess it's not completely done yet. She believes that anything worth having in life is worth taking. She's kind of a shit person. You do see that transformation start happening for her towards the very end when she's coming in to save Kel. I think that was obviously going to happen. They really spelled it out for us in this book. But at the very end, Lila is going to leave on her pirate journey. She's taking off on a ship and she's going to go live her life. So I guess we'll see if she changes her ways or if she goes back to being her true self. What does the hero's journey end up looking like for Lila Bard? So we've got our wine tasting a little bit later this morning, and what I think I'll do between now and then is finish up my coffee, get a bit of breakfast going, get ready for the day, and start cracking into A Gathering of Shadows. So that one's a little bit bigger than A Darker Shade of Magic. That's how it usually goes, right? Like the sequels to a book just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we'll see if I'm able to knock that one out today. Really, the only thing I'm doing today is that wine tasting. So hopefully I can just kind of devote my entire day to reading. But I will check in with you all again once I have made some progress on A Gathering of Shadows and let you know what I think. So talk to you in a little bit. Checking in about halfway through A Gathering of Shadows, and nothing has happened yet. I'm honestly shocked. I was 100% prepared to go in and absolutely love this, and that is not at all what's happening. So we've only really been introduced to one new significant character, and the whole rest of the first half of this huge novel has just been catching up with our old buds who we already know. Really nothing of significance has happened. I can't really say much more without getting into spoilers because it's been a huge hunk of nothing, so go ahead and jump to here if you are still avoiding spoilers. Lila's on her pirate journey and she's kind of learning how to use magic. She seems to obviously be very good at it, in addition to being very good at being stealthy, being an amazing thief, having a penchant for knives. I found that Lila's entire personality is that she really likes knives and she's not like other girls. I didn't think that I would see a main character, a hero of a story, really embody that not like the other girls trope anymore. I will see it through to the end, so I will keep an open mind. I already wasn't a huge fan of this character, but thought that there was a lot of potential. Very disappointed with how this is being handled so far. In the Castle of Red London, we've got Kel and Rye. They're kind of just being moody together. Sometimes they're being like boys about town. It's really kind of stupid. We're spending so much time in Red London. We're not really branching out past that. And I'm not getting a ton of interesting world building. It's just Rye and Kel being moody. Now we did get to see Holland come back 2 times already. We've had 2 chapters that focused on Holland, which again, like the first book, is nothing for this character that seems like he could be a really interesting part of the story. Really not spending enough time with him. And I have to say the chapters that you have seen with Holland, there's potential, but really not that interesting on their own. Overall, I'm really disappointed. But halfway through, I haven't really even gotten to any consequential action, so I guess we'll see when the plot starts happening that improves on this book at all. Eddie is going wild tonight, so we're playing a little bit of tug of war while I do this. So I think I am going to turn in for the night pretty soon here. Maybe just read a little bit more, but I do have to hit the hay because I've got work in the morning. Yeah, I'll check in with everybody again once I am finished with my final thoughts. Hopefully my opinion has improved, and then we'll be embarking on the final book in the trilogy. Wish me luck. For those of you that have already read this book, I hope you're cheering me on, saying keep going, it gets better. So yeah, fingers crossed, and I'll talk to you all then. I'm here to report that I am done with A Gathering of Shadows, and yikes. This book was a major disappointment. I can't believe how much I thought I was going to like it and how little it really did for me. I checked in about halfway through and I was saying that I felt like the action was really limited, that nothing had really happened so far in the book. And this is a big book. It's like over 500 pages. And halfway through, nothing was going on. It didn't improve. We didn't actually get anything of substance until the final part of the book. So the book is broken up into 10 different parts, and yeah, part 10 is where the action finally began. There's not a lot more that I can really say without getting into spoilers, so go ahead and jump here to skip the spoilers that are coming up. So a huge part of this book is the Essentosh, or the elemental games. It's kind of like a cross between the Triwizard Tournament and the Hunger Games, except no real danger. There are no stakes here. It's just a fun exhibition like the Olympics. We really only have 3 main characters from the first book, and then we introduced a 4th character in this one that's pretty big. 3 out of those 4 are apparently competing in this tournament. That makes sense. I mean, think about the Olympics and what percentage of people are qualified to compete in the Olympics in the entire world, and 3 out of our 4 are of the 36 people that are competing in this. That doesn't make any sense. I don't believe it. It's ridiculous. The only really interesting part of the book is Holland, and again, he has no screen time. There's just a couple very short chapters where you see what's happening to Holland. At the end of the first book, Kell sends Holland to Black London on the verge of death, thinking that he's just going to go there and expire. But what ends up happening is Holland finds a monster, a god, that wants to take over his body and give him a bunch of power, yada yada yada. Sends Holland back to White London, and Holland's now king of White London. White London is 30, flirty, and thriving. We got trees growing, we got people happy. Holland has people that serve him just because they love him, but he's possessed by this Black London magic god. And he's trying to get the god off of his back so that he can just be a good ruler and help his world, and he wants to shirk it off onto Kell. So he's plotting in the background of the entire book to send this god, evil, devil, monster to Kell. Go possess Kell, you can have Red London, leave me with White London, it'll be cool. Very, very short chapters sprinkled throughout the book that are alluding to this, and you really don't get that spelled out for you until close to the end. And then guess what? The actual action of that happening is the end of the book. It just leaves you on this cliffhanger where, I mean, the whole title of the book is A Gathering of Shadows. I didn't see any shadows gather. I really don't understand what was going on here. I feel like this book should have been about 400 pages shorter and probably just should have been amended to this one. This is the last book in the trilogy, and it better be good, because I'm really unhappy with the second book. I do think that the cliffhanger was pretty good. I finally want to find out what happens next, so I am not giving up here. I will continue and finish reading through to the 3rd book, but man, very disappointing. Another thing that I just wanted to call out was that I looked into whether A Darker Shade of Magic, the whole trilogy, was a young adult series, and I got some mixed answers. Victoria Schwab writes under both her name, Victoria Schwab, and V.E. Schwab. And the differentiator is when she's writing under V.E. Schwab, it's intended as adult fiction. This is young adult fiction, okay? The only thing that I think probably bumps it out of young adult fiction is the fact that there is gory violence. It's not even that gory, but probably more than you would want to really classify it as something for children. Just gonna throw that out there for anybody wondering, like, oh, I don't like young adult fiction, but let me try and read this. It's young adult fiction. Don't get it twisted. So here's the deal. I have another video that I want to edit. It'll probably take me the rest of the night, so I'm gonna take a bit of a breather on the Shades of Magic trilogy and just start A Conjuring of Light in earnest tomorrow. I'm not staying up all night to devour this thing. The second book really disabused me of the notion that I was going to love this. I've got kind of a busy week at work, so all things considered, I'll probably knock out A Conjuring of Light over the next 2 days. Probably 2 full days to get through this one. It's a lot bigger, and she better have a lot more action, you guys. Anyway, I'm going to change into comfy clothes and settle in to do a bit of editing on the couch. So I'll check in again once I've made some progress on A Conjuring of Light and let you know if it's treating me any better than A Gathering of Shadows did. So talk to you then. Halfway through with A Conjuring of Light, and I have to say I am happy. It is so much better than A Gathering of Shadows already. The plot has picked up. So this far into a trilogy, I really don't know how I can say more than just that vague statement without getting into spoiler territory, so I'll put up a timestamp for you to jump to if you are avoiding spoilers. Early on in the book, it's already scratching an itch for me with the juxtaposition of kind of happy, fun life with the winter's ball after the Essentosh and apocalypse happening outside. It hit me so hard to read about Kisamir walking around, drinking, and then turning into a steaming pile of ash. That was like, damn, rough. So talking about that, Oseron as a villain, I think is just okay, to be honest. I find him to be a little bit ho-hum. Also, Oseron, Sauron, I mean, it's just a little bit too close. Victoria Schwab's clearly influenced by very popular fantasy literature, and I think that she just makes it a little bit too obvious. It does kind of take away from the story when I'm like, oh, that's like this thing. Oseron is Sauron. The Essentosh is the Triwizard Tournament. I don't know. The religious imagery has kind of been sprinkled throughout the whole series, but it is out in full force in A Conjuring of Light. I love that everybody is going out into the city warded against this evil with the blood of an Antari. So Kel and Lila are bloodletting and rubbing blood on the foreheads of everybody that has to go out there. It's like a combination of Ash Wednesday and Passover, I think. I don't know a ton about Ash Wednesday, and everything I know about Passover, I'm pretty sure I learned from the Rugrats special, so don't quote me on that. Religious imagery abounds. Schwab is also spending more time with King Maxim and Queen Amira, trying to bring a little bit more nuance and understanding to their characters, and it's too little too late. My goodwill is totally gone. And the last thing I want to bring up at this midpoint is that we're finally getting some Holland backstory. I feel like this whole time I've just been thinking how much I want to spend more time with Holland and learn more about this character and live in his world. And now we finally get to, and I don't really care. The chapters are just not that compelling, and I find myself waiting and looking to see how many pages until this is done. It has been a wild work week. I've not been able to devote as much time to reading as I initially thought. Maybe my hopes were a bit too high, but I'm about halfway through with the book, and I'm gonna spend the rest of this evening with A Conjuring of Light, see how far I can get, and fingers crossed, wrap it up tomorrow and give you my final thoughts. So, wish me luck, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, everyone, I did it. I finished A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, and I have to say this was a huge improvement over A Gathering of Shadows. You know, my heart swelled, the tears fell, but that's not the whole story. It was not perfect by any means. And honestly, I'm a very easy person to emotionally manipulate. I've been known to cry at commercials and movie trailers, so don't take my tears to mean all that much. So again, we're at the final book in the trilogy. Not a lot I can say without getting into spoilers, so go ahead and jump to this timestamp if you would like to skip the spoilers. I know that I said before that I felt like this series was very young adult-ish for something that was being billed as adult fiction, and then I read a very steamy scene on the pirate ship. I was like, oh my god. It felt a little bit like pandering in a way, like an adult scene just for the sake of there being one so that it could be called adult fiction. You know, we throw in a lot of swear words, a couple of steamy scenes, a couple of too violent scenes, and does that make an adult fiction novel? I don't really think so. Anyway, back to A Conjuring of Light. We're on the open sea and our team gets attacked by pirates, by the sea serpents. And then, of course, the heartbreaking death of our little guard Hostra. Ever since they introduced the character of Hostra in A Gathering of Shadows, you knew that kid was gonna die. He was just so cute and wholesome and excited. You just knew that his whole character was put in there to eventually die and break your heart. So anytime he was in the fray of action, I was just so worried that he was gonna die. He just kept on living and living and living through everything, and then Josta finally got him. It was so sad. I knew it was coming, but I still gasped and cried. Love that little cutie. Meanwhile, back at the castle in Red London, we do get a few surprises, or at least I did. The Veskin power grab by the prince and princess I thought was pretty well done. I thought the fight sequences were both really cool. The Veskin princess against King Maxim, and then also the Veskin prince against Rai and Queen Amira. I thought it was so heartbreaking to see Rai get to rise up and be his mother's hero, only for her to end up dying anyway. That was so sad. I know that I was griping a little bit about the late game character development for King Maxim and Queen Amira. And I stand by that. I really don't think that it was necessary or well done. You know, it didn't make me feel anything for those characters specifically. What I did appreciate was the character building for Rai, because that did make me appreciate his connection to his parents and feel so sad for him when both of them end up passing away. And then we have the very end of it all, the final battle against Oseron. And can I get like a trombone womp womp? This whole final battle went exactly to plan. They set out to go get an object to trap Oseron's power. They're gonna use Holland to lure him into the trap, and ta-da, that's exactly what happened. That's also exactly their original plan that failed the first time. They just tried it again with a better trap. That sucked. When it was all over, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and it just didn't. Everything was fine and went exactly to plan. This is an area where I cannot forgive that there are no surprises and no twists. That is super lame. Boo. Boo. Going into some things that are overall issues for me, the multiverse, or shall I say, lack of multiverse. The whole hook to the series for me is that there are 4 different Londons and we have special magicians that can travel in between them. And the first book did a great job of weaving that into the story. Of course, A Gathering of Shadows threw that out the window. And then in A Conjuring of Light, we got some pity chapters that take place in Grey London and White London. And we follow these characters that are in those worlds, but that never travel outside of them. So there's Nasi from White London and Ned in Grey London. And I'm like, Nasi who? Ned who? They don't matter to the overall story, so I don't care at all what's happening to them. It needed so much more. And then we have Lila and Kel's backstories. So throughout the entire trilogy, they are hinting at mysterious backstories. Lila's missing an eye and we don't know why. When we find out she's an Antari, there's so much rhyming there. She probably had a black eye at one point and it was cut out, but we don't know that. She doesn't know that. Nobody's got the answers and nobody's looking for them. Okay, it had nothing to do with the plot at all. And then of course Kel's origin story. He's wondering about it since the first book, and then we find out that the woman in the pirate market knows his backstory and even gives Kel a mechanism to find out, but we don't even see that play out in the novel. We don't see him choose whether or not he wants to find out. We just don't even go there. We don't talk about it, it just got dropped. What was the point of that? So yes, I did read Kel's backstory. It's written as like an epilogue. And yes, I cried like a baby, but it doesn't count. It didn't even happen in the novel. It felt so poorly thought out. Like Victoria Schwab didn't bother to weave it into the plot and make it meaningful, but she did throw us a bone at the end there and tell us what happened. Very weak. Despite all of my ranting, the book was really fun. I did enjoy myself reading it. Huge contrast to A Gathering of Shadows. So from a star rating perspective, I will go ahead and give A Conjuring of Light 3 stars. I'll also go back and say that A Darker Shade of Magic also deserves 3 stars. It did exactly what it came to do and got me hooked. It made me want to read the other 2 books. As far as A Gathering of Shadows, I'm tempted to give it a 1 star. I might still have to think about it. It was that bad. But to be fair, I will give it a 2-star ranking. Just be clear, this is a precarious 2 stars. As far as the whole series goes, it's definitely fun. If you're looking for a little bit of a popcorn fantasy to just devour, I think go for it. It's gonna be a cute time, but I can't really give it my full recommendation because that second book is terrible. If anything, I'd say read the first book, read a synopsis of the second book just to get those main points, and then finish it off with the third book. That's the best I can do. So I am so sorry to all of the Shades of Magic fans out there. I don't want to blame you for letting me down, but I feel very let down. I hope that this video was helpful to anybody that maybe has some of the same sensibilities that I do. You know, not a big fantasy reader, but interested. Definitely kind of turned off by young adult. So hopefully I can find something that'll be a good recommendation on those fronts. If you have a great recommendation for me, let me know in the comments. I would love a palette cleanser. I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for watching me rant a little bit and do this reading vlog. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too, and I will see you in the next video.